Hello viewer, welcome to another episode of Daily Bread. We are going to share from the book of Exodus chapter 1 and verse 8. I'm going to read. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Yes, when we want to go somewhere or we want to be guided somewhere, we must know our location. Where is my location? If I know my location where I am, then I can be led, I can be guided, or I cannot be confused. I can know the direction to take. But then if I don't know my location, it will be very difficult. I'll be confused. So the same way now, also in our daily lives, in our spiritual lives, we must know our position. Where is my position? Whenever we are reading the Bible, where is my position in this verse? Where is my position? Yes, here God is saying there arose a new king who knew not Joseph. Who knew not Joseph. So there was this king in Egypt who knew not Joseph. This means what? There was a king who knew Joseph. So there are two kings, there are two types of kings in Egypt. There is this king who knew Joseph and the king who knew not Joseph. And then it depends with the situation, it depends the situation of the nation or the condition of the nation, the welfare of the nation, the economy of the nation. Also your daily life depends, who is the owner of your life, or whether you know Joseph or you don't know Joseph. So, when we see Egypt, when we had that king, Pharaoh, who knew Joseph, yes, there was famine. We had problems. We had difficulties. But it's as if there was no difficulty. Why? Because there was that king who knew Joseph. So today now, what is our position? Our position is that king. Our position is that Pharaoh. So you are either a king, you are either Pharaoh who knew Joseph or who did not know Joseph. So we have the book of Kings. Kings is, represents you and me. So when there was a king who had a room in his heart for God, then it is not him who ruled that nation of Israel. It is God who ruled that nation of Israel. So, how did this king in Egypt see Pharaoh? What did he know in Pharaoh? It is in the book of Genesis chapter 41 and verse 38. And Pharaoh said unto his servants, can we find such a one as this is, a man in whom the Spirit of God is? Yeah, Pharaoh is able to see the Spirit of God in Joseph. So, the Spirit of God in Joseph, he is able to see God in Joseph. When he saw Joseph, he saw him with a different eye. So, the eye to see Joseph in this Pharaoh and the eye to see Joseph in Potiphar is totally different. Potiphar is accusing, did not, enter. Who was Joseph in the house of Potiphar? Yes, there are some things that he gave, in the hand of Joseph. But he did not give the authority over his food and wife to Joseph. That is why there is that difference with, the eye looking into Joseph, the eye of Potiphar, the eye in Potiphar, the eye in Pharaoh. So, he's saying there is the Spirit. Who else? There is a Spirit of God in him. And that is why he entrusted everything unto Joseph. Even he removed the signet ring. What is the signet ring? What is the meaning? This is, the emblem of authority, decision making. Because they used to it is final. So he gave him. So all the decisions, every decision you are going to make, I will follow. Every decision. So every authority, he gave him the rule, the charge of everything. Because he knew he could not be able to manage, he could not be able to solve that problem, any burden, any difficulty in Egypt and the people of Egypt. And that is why we had 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. It began with 7 years of famine and then 7 years of plenty. Even though there was that difficult, but it's as though there was no difficult. So, what is my position? What is your position? Is the position of this king? Is the position of this Pharaoh? So what about your life? What about your life now? Do you know Joseph? Then those who knew Joseph, difficult did not end as difficult. It ended as a blessing. Any situation or any burden did not end as a burden. It ended in joy. Even though there was, but it ended. It did not just start as a difficult and ended as difficult. Yeah. So let's see in the book of Acts, Acts 13:22. What is God saying? And when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, who shall fulfill all my will. Yeah, God is so much moved because he can see his heart in David. Not only the heart of God, but that heart of God, has everything of God. There is the will of God which has already been accomplished, which has been fulfilled. So when you see David, David was never defeated in any single war. There is King David, there is King Saul, and they are before Goliath. This Goliath is a burden. Today, even now, there is a burden. You might be having a burden. You are standing before a burden. You are standing before a difficult. You are standing before a situation. But the difference is, all of us equally, we are standing before those burdens. We are standing before those difficulties. We are in those situations. But it depends whether you know Joseph in your heart. Whether you have a room for Joseph. Whether you have a room, for Jesus Christ. Whether you have a room for God in your heart. Whether you have a room for the word of God in your heart. Then, that difficult, there are some who that difficult ends to difficult. There are some who that difficult ends to, a blessing. So, when God sees David, he says, he's so happy, he's so much moved. A man after my own heart. There is the heart of God. There is God in Joseph. There is God in David. So, when we see David, standing before Goliath, what is he saying? Goliath before David is nothing. I come to you with the word of God. I come to you with God. So already in God, he has the heart of God where, the will of God has been fulfilled. It has been fulfilled. So there is that victory. There is everything in the heart of God. One, having the heart of God, this means what? I have everything of God. We have heart transplant. If my heart is a failure, then to that extreme, I need heart transplant. When I have that heart transplant, then, I have that power of the owner of that heart. It operates because my heart has failed. So, David is the one who threw away his own heart and he received with that given heart. Yeah, who can overcome burdens? Yeah, I am weak. Yeah, I know, I am weak. But then I should not capitulate. Yes, I am weak. Then I should not depend upon myself. I am like this. Then I should not depend upon myself. then I should live with that given heart. Those who live with their own hearts, they insist on themselves. They only insist on themselves. They look upon themselves. At the end of the day, they complain. They only see the situation. They only see the burden. It starts with difficult and it ends with difficult. People, they say they have stress. Someone say, why should I have stress? Yes, my heart is of stress, but is the heart of God having stress? No, if I live with that given heart, you see, this king who knew no Joseph, this is Pharaoh, who knew no Joseph. Who knew no Joseph? What was the situation of Egypt? All the male boys, Hebrew boys, were killed. So there was, wailing. There was, death. There is no works of life. But to the king that knew Joseph, there was works of life. There was, there was peace. There was difficulties, there was famine, but it's as if there was no famine. Then how are you living your life today, even now? It depends whether there is room for Joseph or there is no room for Joseph. Who is Joseph? Joseph is God. Joseph is Jesus Christ. Joseph is also church, is the servant of God. If Jesus Christ was here, if Jesus Christ was here now, before this situation, how could this situation be? How could he live? He could have overcome that situation. Now, that Jesus Christ is in me, is in you. Then, I should live that victorious spiritual life. Yes, there is that burden, but it's as if there is no burden. Why? Because I am united. I am, united with the heart of God, like David. What is to be united with the heart of God? What is to live with that heart of God? What is to live with that given heart? Yeah, my heart is a failure, but the heart of God is not a failure. So when I live with that given heart of God, I cannot live within my own limitations. I cannot live within my own limitations. Yeah, so to be connected with the heart of God is, God will help me, God will work, even if I'm in the midst of that situation. So I hope, even today, in your daily life, you can live with that given heart. You can live with that given heart. You can know Joseph like this king who knew Joseph. Thank you very much, and God bless you.